Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles. This is my tag team partner, Lenny.
Thanks, Lodi. Gary Rhodes, everybody.
This is our WWE show for the week, and we'll go right into it. A guy that reminds me a lot of Gary, Brad Maddox in the ring.
I'm starting to like Maddox. He's kind of like Bischoff-esque.
I can see that. To me, I say he's a lot like if Bischoff and Jim Cornette had a kid.
Yeah, kind of an 80s throwback, because everybody's knocking him because he was dressed like Vince back in the 80s. Who cares? It's the style.
Awesome.
Kids staying with the style, man.
And you had John Cena and Daniel Bryan out for the
contract signing.
Which is, yeah. The only thing I didn't like about it is Cena, they're giving Cena the cheap pops by him defending Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan can stand up for himself.
Exactly. I mean, Daniel Bryan, I just see that the sky's the limit for this guy.
He's the world's toughest vegan.
He's a flying goat.
And we'll go into our first match of the night. For the 7,426th time, Sheamus versus Alberto Del Rio.
I like this match, though, between these two. Of all their matches before, I liked this one.
Yeah.
Sheamus came in hurt, and ADR got a win over him. You know, he didn't Cena up or anything like that. He lost.
Yeah, I don't care. To be honest with you, I'm so sick and tired of seeing these two versus each other. Yeah, they could put on a 5-star match at this point, and I would give two flying shits.
All right.
Next, we have skip right over that match. We have Christian versus Titus O'Neil. I thought this was a fantastic match. I thought Christian, the way that Christian let Titus show off his power moves,
oh my God,
impressed me.
Titus is one of the strongest men in the business, and we never really got a chance to look at that before because, I mean, honestly, he's in there against Kane, and when they were, Kane and Team Hell No, Kane would always overshadow him in strength, but you put him with someone with a decent size. Christian isn't a small guy, but he's not a giant guy.
He's a wiry guy.
Exactly, and Christian...
He's a creepy little bastard.
He is, and he knows how to take a bump and makes a bump look good.
I thought it was a great match. I enjoyed it. There's something I want to talk about when we talk about his teammate in a second, though, that I noticed and I thought would make a good angle. I don't know that it's where they're going, but I'll talk about that in a second.
All right.
Next, we have Mark Henry cutting out, talking about his heart don't pump Kool-Aid, which I'm surprised at all the Kool-Aid he drinks. When he wears a red singlet, he looks like Kool-Aid Man.
Oh, God. He calls out the Shield, and the Shield come out, and the Usos come out. Yeah. Did you see how, I can't remember if it was Jimmy or Jay, that he tossed aside because they couldn't get the best of Roman Reigns, and he just goes over there and just destroys Roman.
That's what he do. Well, decent little segment. I like the Mark Henry face turn. It's kind of refreshing. He's been a heel for, about 5-6 years now?
Yeah. I just hope they don't give him the cartoony baby face like they made him.
Well, turn him into Fat Albert again?
Well, I mean, remember back when he was with MVP, he was just,
goofball.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to be a goofball to be a baby face. You can still be a badass and be a baby face.
I don't know. The goofball baby face seems to make the most money.
I just don't buy it with him, though. You know what I'm saying? He's so big, strong. He don't need that. That's what he do.
Now, our next match of the night, we have Dolph Ziggler versus Darren Young. Another great match featuring one of the primetime players. I thought both of these guys looked excellent in their losses. I mean, they talked about a little bit on commentary, and this is what I wanted to get into. Before the first segment, Christian versus Titus, we had a rift between Booker T and Teddy Long in the back. What I was thinking would be a cool development, because they seem to be wanting to split the primetime players, or at least testing the waters for a split. What if they were looking for a manager, and one of them, let's say Titus picks Teddy Long, and Darren Young picks Booker T, and then they split. Obviously, Darren Young would be the face with Booker T, Titus would be the heel with Teddy Long.
Teddy Long is one of the best heel managers there was.
He was
a lot of people don't remember that. I mean, hell, even back when he managed Mark Henry, he did great with Mark Henry.
And Red Dog.
Red Dog. Red Dog just never really got the push he needed.
Yeah. He was a good wrestler, though.
Oh, he was.
He was at his best when he managed the skyscrapers in Doom.
Oh, yeah.
Especially Doom. I thought Doom was fantastic.
Doom was probably one of my top 5 tag teams.
Yeah, they weren't really around long enough to be anything significant.
Well, you had 2 legitimate badasses. You had Ron Simmons.
Well, you had Ron
and Butch Reed.
You had Ron Simmons in the beginning of his career, and Butch Reed at the end of his career.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Simmons kind of was the Butch Reed for the next generation at that
point. Yeah. Well, I think Ron took a lot of what he learned from Butch.
Yeah.
Move for his career. Honestly, Ron Simmons could make anything work back in his day. He made the blue helmet work.
No, he didn't.
I thought, he was still intimidating in the blue helmet to me.
No, he wasn't.
Do you?
He looked goofy. But anyway.
That's Ron Simmons. I ain't gonna say it. You gonna say it to his face?
Yeah.
Well, you know what he's gonna say to you?
Damn. Damn. Say it to Ron's face. What's he gonna do? What's the worst he's gonna do? Hit me?
Just throw you around like a rag doll.
I'll quote Rocky V. Hit me and I'll sue.
Oh my God.
And then, he'll probably be like, sue me for what? I ain't got nothing. This is probably true.
I think he said pretty good money.
He's probably doing well. Anyway, back to the show. We had a Miz TV segment, which was probably the worst segment in the history of televised segments, not named Claire Lynch.
Yeah, there was a slip involved in this one, but...
Yeah, I'm not 12 though, so Brie Bella's nipple doesn't impress me.
I'll tell you what though, it was all over the internet.
Yeah, the Twitter blew up with it. It's a nip slip. Okay.
Yeah, that shit happens.
Yeah.
You think that...
But that was an abortion of a segment.
You think that Bella's going to pay for it?
No, they made her do an apology. But it was a terrible, terrible segment. Leading to a terrible, terrible show.
I like what Tweeter said about the situation though, because they have the new show coming on, which we'll talk about later on, the Total Divas. Maybe that was their way of getting a little bit more publicity towards the Total Divas show.
The nip slip.
Exactly.
Who knows? Who knows indeed.
Well, speaking of questions.
Well, we'll go on our question of the week from last week, which was, out of the 2 Money in the Bank winners, who do you think is going to cash in first? Orton, Sheamus, Sandow. And we got some answers from our friends. The first are from our friend Josh Adams. I think Orton cashes in at SummerSlam, and I think Sandow drops Money in the Bank to Cody at SummerSlam. And the next is from our friend Closure Adonis. I think Orton will cash in first, and I'm making a bold prediction it'll be after Cena and Ryback's table match. Sandow will cash in at SummerSlam. That's an interesting prediction. That would throw off the SummerSlam main event. Maybe making it a 3-way. I don't think they'd go that route. I don't think they're going to do what everybody thinks they're going to do either. I don't think he's going to cash in right as soon as Daniel Bryan wins, if Daniel Bryan wins. I think he's going to hold off, and it's kind of going to be like, remember when Vince McMahon was sending Del Rio to get CM Punk? I think we're going to start to get battle lines drawn where there's going to be Triple H guys and Vince McMahon guys, and Vince McMahon's going to try at some point to get a cash in on Daniel Bryan to get the belt off of him. But I think, honestly, they're going to shock us, and Sandow's going to pull off the swerve first, pull off the cash in.
So you're going with Sandow first?
Yeah. I think that it's too predictable for Orton to do it. And there's too much going around saying he will. Not saying that that's not what they're going to do, but I think they'll swerve us.
Well, they swerved us at the pay-per-view. Yeah. At the last pay-per-view with the Money in the Bank with the winners. My opinion is, I don't think it's going to be at SummerSlam either, but I think Orton will cash in before Sandow will. I think Sandow and Cody will have their match, and I'm kind of hoping Cody will get the belt or get the briefcase.
My ideal cash-in for Orton, and I told you this, is they're at SummerSlam, Cena taps out, Daniel Bryan celebrating, Orton slides in the ring, hands the ref the briefcase. As he rings the bell, Bryan turns around to see what's going on. Orton goes for the RKO, and Daniel Bryan turns it into the yes lock, makes Orton tap out. taps out Cena and Orton at the same night, makes one of the biggest stars in the history of wrestling. That's your Austin 316 moment for Daniel Bryan. That's your Chris Jericho beating The Rock and Stone Cold at the same night moment. But that's just fantasy booking at this point because they probably wouldn't do anything like that. Plus, I think they need to get away from it being such a definite that when they cash in, they're going to win.
Exactly.
I think it needs to be more of a...
I don't think it would hurt Orton's career if he lost.
No, and I think it needs to be a proposition where there's a chance you're going to lose it, so you have to think more strategically. Now, coming off of that, our question of the week for this week is something you just touched on. And basically, it's a simple one. Are any of you going to watch Total Divas? That's it. Let us know what you think, if you're going to watch it, if you're not going to watch it, if you never watch it in a million years, if you're hoping for nipple slips on the show. Hit us up on our Twitter, hit us up on Facebook, put it down where?
Down there.
Down in the comments. And going back to the show, talking about nipple slips, I wish we had a Summer Rae nipple slip. We have Fandango versus Cody Rhodes.
I thought this was an excellent match.
Do you get the feeling that there's a youth movement happening right as we speak? Guys like Cody Rhodes going up the ladder, guys like Ziggler finally breaking that upper echelon.
Well, Ziggler's finally breaking that, the glass ceiling, so to say. And I think Cody should have broke it a long time ago.
Well, Cody's always had the talent. In the beginning of his career, he had a little bit of a problem getting over with the fans.
So they turned him heel?
Once he got to the fight when Mysterio broke his nose and he was wearing a plastic protector, ever since then he's been hot. I mean,
well, if you remember that's when he finally broke it. It was just a little bit after he broke away from Orton and Legacy, and that was his big move, and he did it on his own. Yeah. And I think the kid can put a lot of weight on his shoulders. I think he could be a world heavyweight champion. Oh, no doubt about it. I think as good as a heel as he's been, I think he's a very sympathetic babyface. I mean, you look at that. He's come from a great wrestling family. You look at his brother.
No, his brother is one of the best wrestlers to never be a world champion.
Oh, of course. And you look at his father. His father
is one of the best world champions of all time.
Exactly. And you look at the look of his father. His father didn't have a Lex Luger body, but he can out-wrestle Lex Luger. He can last longer in a ring. And I think Cody has the stamina like his dad, but he has a better look. He's got a lot better talent.
Well, I think Cody, the sky's the limit for the kid. I really enjoy that he's a face now. I think he's going to go far as a face. I see a world title before the end of the year for him. Now, speaking of a guy that's been a world champion before, the best in the world, CM Punk, and the messiah of wrestling, Paul Heyman.
Aren't you talking about the ungrateful CM Punk that you're always...
Yeah, the ungrateful son of a bitch. And the man that created CM Punk.
This segment here was the best segment to me. I'm not a big fan of non-wrestling segments, but when you got two of the best talkers in the business today or ever was...
Verbal jousting.
Excellent. I love the way they built this match up to steal the show already.
How do you like the tagline? The best versus the beast.
I love it, man.
No,
but the best is the beast.
Is the beast.
I like it.
Of course. The Messiah is always right.
I think this match, when it happens at SummerSlam, and I think it's going to be a stacked SummerSlam, I think that match is going to steal the show.
Do you think there's any chance that finishes the show?
It'll probably finish the show.
Yeah, I mean, it could. I hope it does because...
Well, I mean, it's a Lesnar match, and usually, other than WrestleMania matches, Lesnar closes the show.
I mean, it gives SummerSlam a tagline. SummerSlam, the best versus the beast.
I love the cartoons of it, where Brock's the Hulk and Punk's Wolverine. I love it, man. I think this match here is going to steal it. I'm dead set on it.
I mean, it's going to be a fantastic match.
You got those two in the ring at the same time. You got Heyman running around, causing shit.
Well, you got Bryan versus Cena, which will be a fantastic match.
I think Cena's going to bring his A game that night.
You got the looks of you got from the looks of it something along a Big E versus Ziggler match that'll be there. A Sandow versus Cody Rhodes match.
Now, there's been talk about RVD, which we'll talk about him in a minute, versus Del Rio. But there's also been talk of Christian versus Del Rio. I wouldn't mind seeing a triple threat.
Well, speaking of Rob Van Dam, we'll get right into it. He had a match against Wade Barrett, and God, how mighty have fallen. Wade Barrett was used as pretty much a tool to put over Rob Van Dam in this match.
Well, who did Barrett face last week?
I don't even remember.
I mean, the last, he jobbed quick then too. But I mean, to RVD's credit, he let Barrett put some good, decent moves on. I think it got cut short.
Him open.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think the match got cut shorter because of the being busted open, plus the main event segment.
Well, the thing that I really enjoyed about this, and this is the thing that I've always loved about Rob Van Dam, he put Barrett in a position that he had to hit the 5-star frog splash and angle it and move while he was in the air to show you just how athletic he is. I mean, the guy, I think, and I've said this to you a million times, I think Rob Van Dam is the best athlete to ever wrestle. He might not be the best wrestler of all time, but he's the best, most athletically gifted wrestler, in my opinion. The only person I can think that even comes close would be the Great Muta.
How about Shelton?
Shelton
amazing stuff.
Shelton can't fly as far as Van Dam now. Van Dam, literally, I've seen Van Dam. I've been in the ECW arena when Van Dam has jumped from the ring, through the ringside, which is a good 7-8 feet, 3 rows deep into the crowd. So, I mean, you're talking about a 15-foot dive. Or the Van Terminator from ring post to ring post, which Shane did too, Shane McMahon. But I'm just saying.
No, we're talking about best wrestlers of all time. Let's bring up the main event. One of the best in the world. Use the tagline first.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan had a gauntlet match.
Well, no, it was 3 separate matches because
yeah.
They first was a squash against Jack Swagger.
I wouldn't really consider that a squash. I mean,
he went over in like 2 minutes.
No, it was longer. It was about a 5-minute match, or not that much. Maybe 5 to 10 minute match. I'm sorry.
It was 5. It was less. It was less.
Well, Cesaro got the majority of it.
Cesaro put on 25 minutes of it. They pretty much gave Daniel Bryan the last 40 minutes and said, "Here, it's your show," and he beat Swagger. He made Swagger tap. He gets in with Cesaro. They throw a fantastic match.
They put on a clinic. That was one of the best free television matches I've seen in a long time.
I really think Daniel Bryan said to him, let's show these guys. Because there's rumors out there that Vince McMahon doesn't see anything in Antonio Cesaro. I think Daniel Bryan said, let's show these guys what you can do. And that segment, about halfway through when they're just nailing each other with uppercuts, and all the counters, all the movement. I mean, it was.
That was the match of the night.
I mean the whole segment.
But I'm saying, but just between those two, that was the match of the night. Would you think?
Yeah.
If they started fresh, Cesaro Bryan, they put on another match like that, that could be a main event for a pay-per-view.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I really think that that's going to elevate Cesaro just on his showing in that. Now, and in the last part, he beat Cesaro with the small package, which I love. Because there was a time in Ring of Honor where Daniel Bryan was going by Mr. Small Package. And I like that he's bringing a little bit of that in.
You almost thought Cesaro was going to drop the UFO earlier too, didn't you?
Yeah, when he had him up on his shoulders. He set it up for it, and then he hit a quasi-burning hammer / attitude adjustment, which after that, the last part, the third match was against Ryback, and I thought they looked great. I mean, Daniel Bryan and Ryback, every time they faced off, has looked great. Ryback's looked really good in a lot of matches lately. Jericho, he looked good against. Daniel Bryan, he's looked good against. His match with Cena was good.
Well, I like the fact that they didn't let Ryback just destroy him since he's been in there 2 matches. Bryant looked pumped, and I mean, he just went right after Ryback.
And the thing was, everybody they kind of swerved everybody because everybody expected Big Show to close it because they hyped Big Show coming back, which he didn't. The only drawback I see from it is when Ryback powerbombed Daniel Bryan, Super Cena had to make the save.
Of course, he's the poster child. He's the poster child for the WWE.
Yeah. He's a poster child for Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah.
That's real.
Damn real.
But anyway, I mean, out of the 3 portions of the match, I think the Ryback one was the least impressive of the 3, but still good.
Yeah, I mean the last 40 minutes was just phenomenal, man. I tell you. And you were saying that the ratings actually went up.
The ratings went up. I looked at the ratings segment by segment because I was curious to see how good Bryan would do in this. They gained ratings, and not only did they gain ratings, but there were less people turning the channel during the commercial, during the Daniel Bryan segments than any other segment on the show. So people were staying around for the commercials just to see what came after.
And that shows Vince that this guy is worth being in this spot.
And that's exactly what we were talking about last week. If you want Daniel Bryan at the top, make sure you're watching his matches. Don't turn him off. Buy his merchandise. All that stuff. You know.
And we learned at the end of the show when McMahon shows up talking to Brad Maddox that next week Bryant's going to face...
No. Cena's going to face...
No, but they also said Bryant's going to face Kane.
But Cena's going to face Ryback in a tables match. Which it seemed like they were going to do right there and then.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, let's go right into our rating system for the show. Now, if you guys have seen our show before, you know we go from a 1 to 5 rating scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. 1's a Great Khali, 2's a Sheamus, 3's a Randy Orton, 4's a Daniel Bryan, 5's a CM Punk. We might need to
switch those. And I hate saying that. There's 2 of my favorite too, but Bryan is white hot right now.
I'm going to give this show a Randy Orton a 3.
I'm with you on that. There was a lot of drawbacks. The Total Divas section, or
the Total Divas crap,
really killed a lot of it for me.
Hurt Alberto Del Rio and Sheamus. I wasn't a fan of. The Daniel Bryan was amazing. The Daniel Bryan 3 matches. Fandango versus Cody was good. Rob Van Dam versus Barrett could have been a lot better if Van Dam wasn't just squashing Barrett. But pretty much, I mean...
But, you know, the thing is, and Van Dam could build Barrett.
Yeah. And he wouldn't be opposed to doing so.
No. He's just glad to be out of TNA.
Yeah.
So the Titanic. Like I said, I'm agreeing with you.
Don't bash TNA. They're doing it enough on there.
Not true. Like beat your dead horse, huh? Like I said, I'm agreeing with you with the Orton situation. I'm giving him a number 3.
Hey, you know who's a dead horse man? Woo! Chris Benoit.
Oh, there goes all of our fans right there.
But
Chris Benoit.
Basically, that's all I have to say for the show. Is there anything you need to add?
That's it. I'm trying to get out here before you mention that name again.
My name is George Coles.
I'm Gary Rhodes.
And this has been Heel Heat.